All right, so in example 7, we are going to do the opposite of what we did in example 6. So rather than taking the symbols and writing them in words, we're going to take the words and we're going to write the words in symbols. So our statement P is going to be Emma is artistic, and Q is going to be the statement Emma takes gymnastics. Now we're going to write the statements down below in symbols. So Emma isn't artistic. So we've got the not part in there. So that's our tilde symbol. So not, and then our statement about being artistic is P. And so not P would be the statement Emma isn't artistic. All right, moving on to B. Emma is artistic and she doesn't take gymnastics. So Emma is artistic is statement P. Okay, there's our word and so remember our symbol for and is like a caret symbol. Okay, and she doesn't, so there's our not, take gymnastics, which is statement Q. Okay, so P and not Q. Emma's artistic and she doesn't take gymnastics. All right, for C, if Emma takes gymnastics, then she's artistic. Okay, so if Emma takes gymnastics, Emma taking gymnastics is Q. Then we use the arrow to the right. That's our conditional. That's our if then. So I know there's only one symbol, okay? But when you see it, you say the word if first. So if Emma takes gymnastics, then she's artistic, which is P. All right, moving on to D. Emma isn't artistic if and only if she doesn't take gymnastics. So she's not artistic, so that's not P. If and only if is the two-way arrow. And then she doesn't, so there's our not, okay? She doesn't take gymnastics, which is statement Q. And finally, moving on to E, Emma takes gymnastics, so that's statement Q. Or, so that's our V, she's artistic, which is P. All right, so now let's kind of mix up those two things. We're going to have some written in symbols, some written in words, and we're going to go from one to the other. All right, so we've got P is the statement Brian bought a computer. Q is the statement Brian bought a smartphone. All right, so P, Brian bought a computer. Okay. Oops, sorry, turn my pen back on. Brian bought a computer. Okay, then we've got our symbol there. That's the symbol and. And then Q is he bought a smartphone. Now we wouldn't say Brian bought a computer and Brian bought a smartphone. Okay, that would be, I mean, we could, it'd be very formal and very awkward. I think most people would say Brian bought a computer and a smartphone. And we'll just leave it there, okay? And you can be as formal as you want. If you want to speak very proper formal English, have at it. All right, now we've got one in words. Brian didn't buy a computer. Okay, so we've got the not, so not, and a computer is our statement P, buying a computer, or that symbol is like a V, he bought a smartphone. Okay, and our smartphone is, buying a smartphone is our statement Q. So not P or Q. All right, C, we've got not Q, then we've got our if then P. So if comes first, if not Q. Brian didn't buy a smartphone. Then, and if you don't want to write the word then, that's all right. I'm going to put it in parentheses so you know you can have it there or not. Then he bought a computer. Okay, if Brian didn't buy a smartphone, he bought a computer. All right, D, Brian bought a computer. So that's our statement P. If and only if, so there's our double arrow. He did not buy a smartphone. So that's not Q. All right. E. So we've got P, he bought a computer, and then we've got our if then. So we're going to go ahead and put the if in there. So if Brian bought a computer, okay? If Brian bought a computer, then, and again, you can include that word or not, it's up to you. All right, now we have a not Q. All right, so let's start inside the parentheses. So not Q would mean he didn't buy a smartphone. And then we negate that. So what is the negation or the opposite of he didn't buy a smartphone? Well, that would be he did buy a smartphone. Okay, so if Brian bought a computer, then he bought a smartphone. One of the ways I look at a not, it's kind of like, a negative makes a positive. It's really the same thing in logic, okay? So a not, negating a negation takes you back to the original statement. It undoes the not part, okay? Just like subtracting negatives is adding a positive. So kind of think of it that way. All right, and then last one, Brian didn't buy a computer or a smartphone. Okay, Brian didn't buy a computer or a smartphone. All right, now I want you to think about it this way. All right, what didn't he do? Okay, he didn't do two things. He didn't buy a computer or a smartphone. Those things go together. Okay, so what we need to say, and we're going to use the parentheses in that way. Okay, so if he bought a computer, that's P, or is our little V symbol. Buying a smartphone is Q. Since he didn't do either one of those things, we're going to put parentheses around that and say negate the entire thing. Okay, because he didn't do what? Two things, buy a computer or a smartphone. So separate the buying a computer and a smartphone out and then negate the entire thing because that's what the sentence is actually saying.